Hello and welcome to True North EV. Today we're going to chat about the Hyundai Ioniq 5 and the first drive experience. So I did actually go take one for a test drive. The dealership I dealt with that I know the salesperson at, Dave Felstead. It's at Focus Hyundai. I found out they got a new Ioniq 5. So I went and had a look at it, took it for a drive, and so all the dealerships in Canada that are EV certified are apparently getting the same trim and package, I guess just different colors from what I'm told, which is the preferred model rear wheel drive. See, Bodhi, I have the same issue. And rear wheel drive and the long range. So sort of the base package, long range battery. And when I went and actually looked at it, from the pictures it looked really boxy. But in person, it's quite curvy other than the front and a sharp line that goes across the side. But other than that, it's actually a lot curvier than I thought it was going to be. The lights they're great because they're all LED lights. So preferred is the base package here in Canada. And they have LED lights even on the base package. So with that, actually all the exterior lights are LED. And with that, the lights are weird. The pattern, it's like a boxy type pattern. It's weird in person. I thought it looked weird from the pictures. That part looks weird. I'm sure it's something you get used to or you just ignore over time. It's, I guess, not something I would not buy the vehicle because of, but it caught my eye that it was weird, and I noticed when I took it for a test drive, I think it caught other people's eye that it was weird because the vehicle itself doesn't look totally out of place. It looks a little different, but it still kind of looks like your CUV type deal. But the front lights, really like those, the LED lights, compared to my Kona Preferred that has just your normal, I'm going to call them normal incandescent lights. It's way better. I don't think I've ever actually had a vehicle I've never owned a vehicle that had LED lights, but now using the Ioniq 5 with the LED lights, I think I'm definitely going to be looking at switching over my headlights to LED, which you could get if you moved up to the ultimate package in the Kona. You could get those. It's nice to see, though, Hyundai is bringing that down to just the base model because honestly, I'd call it a safety feature. So it should be just in your normal packet. And so the Ioniq 5 is also the first vehicle that Hyundai's put on their eGMP. I'm sure I call it eGimp. I'm sure they just go with eGMP. But it is their first, I guess, skateboard design that they can put all their other vehicles onto, which is nice because it actually has a frunk now. But with just the rear wheel drive, there seems to be a lot of room. The front can be a lot bigger. With that, they've designed the frunk that it can work in their rear wheel drive and their all-wheel drive. So the frunk is a lot smaller than it needs to be with the one that they have. I don't know if one of these aftermarket companies will come out with something that's better, something bigger that kind of just slaps in place for it. But it is nice to see that they have a frunk. It is basically big enough that you can fit your kind of charger, your travel charger, so the 120 volt charger that comes with it, you can fit that in there nicely, maybe a few other little cords. It's not a whole lot of room, but it's at least something. You're not going to fit a bag of groceries in there. The bottom is still quite a bit of plastic pieces. It'd be nice to see, especially in winter conditions, you kind of have, I noticed this year we've had a lot more like freezing rain, so those places with freezing rain, maybe a little more snow, probably BC mountain area. I just foresee when it's really cold out, -20, -30, you hit some frozen snow, that those pieces will break. So it'd be nice to see those as more metal that might just dent, and it's not as big of a deal as replacing a whole panel. Kind of also seemed on the back of the vehicle, the bottom panel also seemed to kind of be flappy. It didn't seem connected very well on the sides where the tires are. So that seemed a little odd to me, but maybe, I guess time will tell if it works or not. The other thing was it just seems like they could have covered it better. It seems to be the panels seem a little small, which I don't know if it's because when you get the all-wheel drive, if maybe there's other parts to it that kind of needs that extra room. But again, time will tell. With this one, can only go off of what I've actually seen in person. And the tires are nice. They're not low-profile tires, which I actually really like, especially here in Winnipeg. Our roads are awful. I don't quite understand how people drive with low-profile tires. You're just beating up your back. I have back issues, so I don't want to be driving around in low-profile tires. I'd want something with a little more cushion. I also grew up with, my parents were always into the older, like early 80s vehicles, so there was always a lot of cushion, kind of the Cadillac feel, very floaty. So there was that. So I actually really like that they put tires, but they're also really wide tires, which I'm sure is affecting the range. But just because it's got a bigger battery, it does have more range than my Kona. But I'm sure there's ways that they could have kind of brought those tires in a little bit, that they don't need to be so wide. But maybe there's somebody that's an engineer or way smarter than me, not even an engineer, just somebody way smarter than me that can tell me why there is big fat tires on there. That the rims were not bad. Little less showy that it's an EV compared to the Kona's rims. They still serve that aerodynamic way. And then, so I guess kind of going from the exterior to the interior, the door handles. So the door handles remind me of Tesla's. They're flush mount door handles, but they all are on a solenoid that as you unlock the car, it pops the door handles out. So it needs to have that solenoid, and there's no way of turning that off apparently, unless it's in, what did they say, travel mode or trailer mode. When they got the vehicle, it was in a mode that, a shipping mode or whatever, so the door handles didn't have that connected. But after the dealership, the way all customers will get it is with needing that solenoid, to pop it out, which it looks really nice, but I just foresee that as something else to go wrong. And there's it's another piece to repair. So after warranty, it's how many things are we going to fix? But it looked really nice. I did like that they're flush mount. It's the way I think we're going. On the inside, tons of room. Way bigger storage capacity than my Kona has. It's apparently an inch wider overall than my Kona. So I'm going to go with my child seat and see, because that's the big issue with my Kona, is once I got the child seat in the middle, my two kids on either side, it's really tight, and they sometimes one person has to get in, buckle up, and then the car seat has to be shoved over to that way for the other person to buckle up. So I'm hoping that that 1 inch actually kind of cleans that up more, just because it seems like, looking at other car seats, it seems like ours is kind of on the narrow side, which is, well, the widest part is 18.5 inches, and it narrows up going down. So hoping that works. Then the trunk area, with my Kona, there's like a big under trunk that's covered, where this only has a small amount of room underneath. It doesn't seem like it's meant to actually be storage, because there's no foaming or anything on it. It's just bare metal, which seemed a little odd to me, but it is what it is, right? Maybe it's because it's a preferred model. I'm not sure. The back seats also recline a bit, so it was nice, I guess. I don't know if I would ever use it. Maybe when my kids get older, they might want it more reclined. I could see maybe for a long road trip you want it reclined, a little more comfortable. And there was, I believe, one plug-in on the back of the center console for the backseat people. Apparently, I was told by Dave that so this was a preferred, essentially base model package. On the Ultimate, there is going to be heated rear seats. On this one, they were still that, I don't know if it was leather, vinyl seats. But they weren't heated. So here in Winnipeg, we get a little chilly. I know where my in-laws are, it was -30. Wind chill felt like -40. So you're definitely going to have these cold days. So it would be nice if they had heated seats, or at least like Tesla, where the heated seats are put into everyone, and you basically pay a little extra to get that put on, because maybe some places they don't need it, but here and where my in-laws are, it would definitely be nice. Moving up to the front, the center console on the base package, it reminded me a lot of the original Model S's. It has that big open area. They say to put your purses, and that was, I guess, Tesla's thinking also. But I personally would prefer a closed-in area that I could throw, chargers, change, all your like little cords and whatnot, all the stuff you want hidden, parking passes, to just throw in there and not leave open, because it is just a little storage area they got in the center armrest. So not a whole lot of storage for that. So again, another thing that aftermarket manufacturers might get in on is making that center console actually have a piece. And on the preferred, the center armrest does not slide, but when you move up to the Ultimate, apparently that will then slide forward and back. I'm not sure why you would want that. Maybe there's a good reason. Maybe it's just I've never had it, so maybe it's if you have it, it would be the cat's meow. But the seats were super nice. They were actually powered, so even on the base model, you got powered seats. You had the full lumbar adjustment, up, down. What is it? Probably 14, because up, down, forwards, backwards adjustments. So it was really great that way. I can actually get all nice and cozy in that seat. Front seats are heated. I was told there is a quick way to do it, but the way I found, everything is done. They're trying to be like Tesla. Most of the stuff is done on the main screen that they have, but it's not as intuitive, I find, as Tesla, where you kind of have to, for the heated seats, you have to hit the heat button, And then from there, they actually would pop up. And then you could turn it off and on from there. And that went for the heated seats and the heated steering wheel. They did have some physical buttons, so I'm not sure why they didn't just make that a physical button as well. But again, maybe they're a lot smarter than I am. But the screen was super nice, super clear. Very nice touch controls. It looked like the map was already loaded on. I'm not sure if that's part of the Blue Link deal. When I got back to ask questions, another customer did come in. So I kind of let them kind of take over, and actually I let him go deal with the actual customers instead of me. So I will go and actually ask more questions later for it. But I figured I'd just give the quick impressions now. Again, with this, because it's a new Hyundai, it is just the 3 years of Blue Link. But you don't need Blue Link to start the vehicle anymore. On the remote, it does have essentially like a remote start in a gas vehicle. So I found that to be super great. I think the newer Konas also come with that. I'm not 100% sure. So there's that. There is the main screen. Oh, the shifter. The shifting was weird. It almost looks like your normal stock style shifter, but you just turn the end, like spin the end. So that was different. In all the paperwork that they gave that was sitting in the glove box, they actually had instructions on how to use it. So I guess other people found it weird, or they foresee it as a known issue. But listening to Kilowatt's podcast, he actually did talk about the Ioniq 5. And I'm going to find out if here in Canada they have the same thing there, which is you can give permission to somebody else to borrow your vehicle without the keys. You can, essentially they would sign in to Blue Link and make an account, and you give them permission. So I really like that. I hope more manufacturers do that. I really hope that is also coming to Canada, but I guess we shall see. The other great thing with the Ioniq 5 is the windows are all double paned. So it's like two pieces of glass, which makes a huge difference. It almost sounds like there's more insulation around the whole body of the vehicle, because the interior was way quieter than my Kona. Now, my Kona, you would hear even the road noise, just the tires on the road. And if you're sitting next to a semi, you're going to hear that semi idling even. Where when I took it for a quick drive around a portion of the perimeter, I was stuck at a train track, and I did have a semi park right next to me, and I could actually barely even hear him idling. That was super good. It's nice to see them actually think about that, where I'm sure that's because this is strictly meant to be an electric vehicle. It was never designed to be an electric plug-in hybrid, a gas vehicle, where the Kona was. So it seems like they thought more about those little things that make having an electric vehicle so good. And with this, you actually can turn the rear camera on even while driving. So I kind of like that, because there's days that you feel like that person just pulled up a lot closer to you than you thought, or something weird went by or whatever, right? And the camera's not great, but at least you can see a little bit better what's going on back there. Or you even have too much stuff. You filled up the trunk area, and so you can't actually see out the mirror. You can actually then use it almost like a mirror if you want. It does get rid of the map if you're using the map. It takes up that whole screen area. But if you need to see something, it is there. The other big change is the charging. It now is a lot faster charging, but it's also moved it from the front to the back passenger corner. it has just a little flap instead of a whole door. It is, though, another solenoid controlled, which, again, another part to go wrong. But it's, again, more lined up with how Tesla does it. So I'm not sure if that was the standard they were going for or whatnot, but that's how it seems. There's no cover on the top J1772 portion. So I kind of like that because there's nothing dangling. I get frustrated with my wife when she will just take the cover off of the J1772 and kind of just leave it dangling. It's just something to scratch up the paint and whatnot. Where when there's no cover, you just open the door and plug it in. And apparently that can be done with the remote. There's a button on the remote to do that. There is a little flap on the CCS part, so that at least stays clean while you're charging. If it starts raining or whatnot, raining, snowing, kind of leaves that all covered and protected. There is a way, an adapter you can get for the Ioniq 5 so that you could do a vehicle to load and essentially use that J1772 charger you could use for camping or whatnot. I personally just use an inverter off the interior. I feel that's the same, but I guess you can actually get a higher charge out of the J1772 with that adapter. So I guess if you're using something that needs a lot higher charge, maybe it's a better option. I go with for camping. I don't know what you would need that higher charge for. So overall, pretty great vehicle. I want to thank you guys for the time. The recording kind of got cut off there. I have a whole new recording system that I'm working with, just trying to get used to. But you guys can go check out Easy EV Install. All their contact info is at the bottom. That was from the last deal. Easy EV Install will help you get set up for your electric vehicle. Get you all set up with a plug-in charger, all that stuff. You can also go check out Kilowatt and EV Resource. Those two podcasts have great news. They're way more informative than I am. And if you guys do want to get a hold of me, you can contact me at truenorthev@gmail.com or truenorthevpodcast@gmail.com. You could also find me on Twitter at EV_North. You can leave me a voice message on Anchor, which is what I use to record this, at anchor.fm/truenorthev/message. You can find me on Facebook at truenorthev. And feel free to reach out. Any questions, comments, concerns, any sort of things you think I can improve on, I am always open to feedback. Thank you and have a great day.